All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to week number 10. That is right, week number 10 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin. And today, unfortunately, what I'm going to tell you is strap in because we are in for a much longer video today. I know I say that I will usually cut the videos off or try to have them done within whatever set period of time, 20, 25, 30 minutes. We are going to be going quite over that today because we're going to be reviewing databases for English and language arts classes, and that tends to be one of my longer recordings. So strap in. I will tell you at different times when we are going to go from one thing to another in case you want to pause when I do that, for those of you who choose to watch. But yeah, there's no way to really make this short, so we are going to go ahead and dive in. First, a few state of the course updates, and we don't have that many. First of all, if you have not completed your Wikipedia edit assignment, you need to get in touch with me and let me know why, and that will determine whether or not you can get an extension or not. I would still recommend, if you haven't turned it in by the due date and you are not eligible for an extension, to still do it rather than taking a 0, because you can still get some late points. But yes, that was due on the 23rd, which was this past Sunday. So if you have not finished that, then there are probably going to be penalties unless you have already spoken to me. The other state of the course update that I wanted to mention very quickly is, yes, I hope you all are working on your semester long projects. Please don't forget to work on those because I don't want for you all to end up trying to scramble to get those finished like a week or two before they're due. You know what I'm saying? So if you've been working on them throughout the semester or since they've been available, then you probably have a much more manageable assignment than what you have if you have not been working on it all along. But if you have not been working on it all along, I recommend that you do get started this week. And also keep going with those LibGuides, and we will have our final sync session toward the beginning of November, specifically on I believe it will be, November the 9th. All right, so that is it for state of the course updates. Let's go ahead and look at some language arts database stuff. All right, so when it comes to the English language or the language arts databases that we're going to be reviewing, just very quickly, again, this is going to be a very superficial introduction to these databases, and then if you are wanting some more practice with them, I recommend that you find actual tutorials on YouTube and also go into the databases, work on them a little bit yourself, see how they work and that sort of thing, and try to master them that way. But what we're doing here is a very superficial introduction to these databases, but this is to help you find out when you would use these databases, under what circumstances, and that sort of thing. And we are going to be looking at both databases that are offered by Mizzou and databases that are not offered by Mizzou but are offered at other colleges and then also often offered at public libraries. So, first of all, the English Language and Literature's LibGuide home. You see this URL up here. If you want to find these various databases very quickly, then what I recommend is for the ones that Mizzou does carry that you might want to bookmark or just know how to get to the LibGuide for English Language and Literatures, and that way you can access these databases very quickly. Now, what we are going to look at here within this LibGuide, that's going to include, we are going to look at Literature Online Reference, we're going to look at Gale, I think we can skip Oxford Reference Premium, and yeah, we probably will not be working with any of these others today. As far as research and criticism, I'm going to go through these tabs. So we are going to look again very quickly at MLA, Literature Online. We're not going to look at those. We don't need to. And then we've already looked at Academic Search Premier and JSTOR. We don't really need to look at Project Muse, but we may look at Literary Index. And we don't really need to look at the Reader's Guide retrospective either. All right, and then it is good to know, we may not actually go into these, but it is good to know that these poetry and short story criticism databases exist, because there are going to be times when you're going to want to use those. Let's see. The Find Primary and Literary Works tab, we probably aren't going to go into any of these because these really just don't come up all of that much. It doesn't come up enough for me to justify using time in this video to look at them. I may look at the Literature Online text collection very, very quickly, but if so, that'll be the only one of these that I mess with. But if you want to, again, you can go into these, you can find this LibGuide yourself and go into any of these and practice using these databases if you like. And then finally, when it comes to background in biography, we are going to look at literary index and then also author biographies from Literature Online. And those will probably be the only ones here that I look at. But again, you can look at some of these other things in your own time, and I recommend that you do so and practice with those if you think that they could be beneficial on your job. And then we're going to switch over to the public library aspect. This video will probably be an hour long. I hope you speed it up. It may be over an hour long, but this is one of the 2 longer ones that I have to do each semester. So we're going to go ahead and plug into that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off. So first we'll look at the MLA International Bibliography Full Text, and you can see from here, this indexes critical scholarship in modern languages, literature, linguistics, and folklore, and it covers 1963 all the way to the present. So what this is useful for, this is oftentimes one of the more useful things that you can work with when you're dealing specifically with people who are working on graduate degrees in English or in any of the associated humanities, actually, in addition to English. And then also undergraduates, a lot of times they also find a lot of use and purpose within this database because it's one that can, for one thing, it's the EBSCO database, and EBSCO databases are very user friendly. So a lot of your undergraduates, they may want to use this database specifically to find sources very quickly because, again, it's a very easy database to use, and there are not a lot of options even that you really have to be bothered with this one as opposed to a lot of other databases that you'll find in EBSCO. But let's say we can do a sample search, for instance, for let's do a sample search for see if we've got Canterbury Tale in here. Yeah, Canterbury Tales. And we'll leave it just as a keyword from now and see what happens. Okay, and then we get about 6,000 things. And we've got a little subject heading here. So if you've got somebody who's doing some research on the Canterbury Tales, for instance, this is a good database for them to kind of start out with because it is international in scope. And it will, of course, the Canterbury Tale was written much, much further back than 1963. But anything written after 1963 that discusses it or has criticism of it and that sort of thing, this may be a good place to find that type of information. So as you can see, one thing that you will find here is that, let me hit back and go back to this thing here. A lot of times, a lot of the information that you see in this particular database will not have the full text. As you can see, a lot of it does as well. But you're going to have to use your Journal Finder resources and that sort of thing a lot of times to find the full text with this database. Now, if you did want to limit to full text because you're dealing with somebody who just needs to find something in a hurry, which will be the case a lot of times when you're dealing with undergraduates, then what you can do, again, is come over here to the left and click full text. And as you can see, that took us all the way down from about 6,000 things to about 886 things. So we lost nearly 5,000 results on this, okay? And so that is a big deal. Like I said, in this, because this is kind of a, well, I wouldn't say it's an index, but still, a lot of the databases that purport to be indexes, a lot of times they won't have that full text right there in the database, and you'll have to use Journal Finder or Interlibrary Loan or something in order to get your full text. But again, the same way you would do in Academic Search Complete that I showed you a few weeks ago, what you can do is if you have a subject term, and in this case you do have a subject term linked for the Canterbury Tales, what you can do is you can actually just click that, and that defaults you into a new search, and within that new search, everything, so we have 2,500 results here. All of these 2,500 results have the Canterbury Tale as a subject term, meaning that it's not just mentioned casually within the source, but the source is actually quote unquote about the Canterbury Tales. And so that's pretty much how this works. If you needed to break down by source type or by date and these sorts of things, you can do that to the left, just as you would with Academic Search Complete. So we're going to go ahead and leave this particular database. If you want more practice with it, then you can go ahead and practice on it on your own time. But this is the overview here. All right. Pause if you need to grab a snack, run to the bathroom, something of that nature. All right, and welcome back. I don't know what's going on with Literature Online. I keep trying to access it, and I keep getting this. So I might end up having to skip that one as well, which will be okay. You can, I guess when that error goes away, it probably has reached its maximum users if it's only got 4 maximum users for the entire university. So that probably is what's going on there. But Communication and Mass Media Complete, this is another EBSCO database, and so it looks exactly the same as most of the other EBSCO databases, but the content is different. So if you have students who are like journalism students or that sort of thing, then this is probably one of the first places that you want to look for them. So if you have, let's say that, I don't know, what would you be doing even a Mass Media Complete search on? Maybe you're doing it on the Wall Street Journal or something. So you can put in, again, Wall Street Journal, and then do a search. And actually, you don't get a whole lot. That is hardly anything. So that probably wasn't the greatest search. But again, one of the things that you want to pay attention to is that you do have the subject term there for the Wall Street Journal. And so by clicking that, and you also have NAICS codes options. I talk about this a lot more in the business reference course that I'll be teaching in the spring, so a plug there. If you do want to learn more about business resources and business librarianship, then please take my business class in the spring. It's going to be in the latter 8 weeks, okay? But yes, so we can click Wall Street Journal, and there you only have 358 things come up, so that's not a lot at all. But everything that comes up here is something that deals specifically with the Wall Street Journal as a subject. So it's not just mentioning casually the Wall Street Journal somewhere. It is all of these 358 things are supposedly about the Wall Street Journal. And then when it comes to full text, you're not going to have as bad of a cut down issue with full text in this database as you would have in the previous database that we just looked at. All right, so that is this database. We're going to keep rolling because, again, we've got a lot of sources we're going to look at. Okay, so the next one that we're going to look at is we are going to look at Literature Online, which is ProQuest database. I was finally able to get into it. I ended up having to switch browsers, which I probably should have tried to do in the first place, but regardless, we are there now. So let's go ahead and take a little look at it. So this is Literature Online, and so this tends to be a very good database for finding information about a variety of different things. You can find criticism here. Sometimes you can actually find the primary text specifically with poetry, but also a few times with drama or even with short stories and that sort of thing. You might be able to find it here. You can find some reference works, various dictionaries, encyclopedias, and that sort of thing that you can look through. Your ready reference. Those of you who have been reading your textbook probably know or should know at this point what ready reference is, what it means, and those things that are included within. You can get information on authors here, so that's very useful. I've used this a lot of times to help students find information about authors that they're trying to write reports about and that sort of thing. And then also you do have a few things down here which I would say are more so extras. You don't really people don't make a lot of use of these various audio and video collections, but they are there. And specifically if you have students who are needing to incorporate multimedia into what they're doing, if they're doing a PowerPoint presentation and they want to play some audio excerpt or some video excerpt, usually you can do that with this, and the things that are shared here are usually not things that you would get into any copyright trouble if you were to include them in a presentation for school, just as long as you are citing the source and that sort of thing. So let's very quickly just look at, for one thing, I did want to just go into one of these frequently viewed author things here, and I want to choose Langston Hughes. So what you can do when you actually select an author here, what you will get is kind of like this neat overview page, which I really, really like. And so you can, from the overview page, first of all, you get their lifespan here. You get some additional information in this top box here, this shaded box, and that includes, ethnicity, nationality, some various literary periods and literary movements that they are associated with. And then you can also get a little biography. I can actually click that and get this full biography here. But there are places to get slightly better biographies, but this is one that is a good biography to start out with. And then again, as you scroll down, you see primary text. These are things that actually, this looks more so like, a lot of this looks like it might, yeah, these are not things that were authored by him. I don't know if it's criticism or not. I have to actually go into it. But you've definitely got criticism in this box over here. So if you're looking for literary criticism on these authors, this is a place to go. And you can also, by the way, click here. I'm going to actually open this into a new tab. And, oh, well, that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Let's see. Oh, okay, yeah, because it just scrolls down there. Okay, I apologize for that. So, but yeah, you have these various boxes that have various types of information within them. Here you have this criticism over time, so you can kind of hover over one of these and see that there are 47 entries in ProQuest for things written between 1960 and 1969. You definitely had a surge between 2000 and 2009, and then things started to fall back down to earth a little bit. Of course, we are only 2 years, though, into this decade here. Relevant literary works, relevant reference works, I'm sorry. You have that information over here. So these are things, entries a lot of times in biographies, so you can find another biography here. Also dictionaries and encyclopedias, you can find reference works related to his works there. If you want to click the view all, hopefully I can open this in a new tab and just get, okay, great. So I opened that in a new tab, and as you can see, I have 378, let me move this guy over here, 378 reference works, and pretty much everything within this, not EBSCO, this ProQuest database here is actually going to be full text. So once you actually click one of these, like if I were to click this here, all right. Yeah, and I've got the full text right there. So this isn't very long, as you can see, but I've got the full text right there. I don't have to go fishing for that and everything. So this is something that can be very, very useful for students who are trying to do homework or research related to literary figures or literature, who are looking for literary criticism and that sort of thing. Let's go back here. Some other tools that you can kind of have. I'm actually going to clear that out. So some other tools that you might end up having, again, you've got criticism here. So, and what you can do, you can actually search. These tabs actually allow you to search the specific content type. So let's say that I was looking for, literary criticism actually on To Kill a Mockingbird, but I didn't want everything. I didn't want primary text. I didn't want the author stuff or the reference works. I just wanted criticism. I could put in To Kill a Mockingbird. And then I could actually hit criticism there, and then To Kill a Mockingbird, and then I can click search. And I do get 155 criticism results. Now, because I didn't put quotations around this, I might get some things that are not relevant, but it looks like the things that are popping up first, and these are sorted by relevance. So it looks like the things that are popping up first are things that are relevant to the actual search that I'm trying to do. So this is very good. Now you will see that some of this is not the full text. You've got the full text for some of these here, but then you've also got citations here. So when you've got a citation, again, what you're going to have to do is use the Journal Finder tools or the Interlibrary Loan in order to get the full text. But it is good to at least have these citations and abstracts that you can kind of take a look at, and you can see based on the abstract or the citation a lot of times whether or not this is something that you could use the full text on, and if so, then you can use Journal Finder or Interlibrary Loan in order to pursue that full text. Okay. So that's pretty much all I'm going to show out of this, again, in the interest of time, and you can play around with this on your own. You can find some tutorials on YouTube to get better at using this database and so forth. All right, let's see the next one that we're going to use, and now is another time where you can pause and take a break if you would like. All right, the next one that we are going to look at is going to be Literary Index, and this is a big one. This is a product actually by Gale. You all probably have noticed that most of the things that we've been looking at have been things that are either from EBSCO or from ProQuest, because those are two of the three major database players in the library world. But the third major player is Gale, and this is an essential database for you to keep in your toolbox as you are assisting patrons. And this Gale Literary Index is actually useful regardless of whether or not you are working for academic library, K-12, or public. You will most likely make use of this database in any and all of those settings. So let's say again that you were we'll start off with this advanced search. No, let's actually do the regular search first. Work. Let's do author, and let's do Mark Twain. So plain Mark. So if you put that in, oh Lord, I don't know why they really should combine these. I didn't realize that this was going to show up, but of course Samuel Clemens and Mark Twain are the same person, and they really, as I said, should combine those. But what we can look at here are the works. If we don't want to look at these author pages here, we've got 360 things that are dealing with works, and these should all be full text. Okay, and apparently I'm wrong there. And actually, I don't even know what is. Okay, let me go back in here. Okay, so at least, all right, so if we go to the overview page that we have for the author, as you will see, you will have this information here, this shaded information, again, kind of like what you saw in ProQuest, a little bit of intro information, but it isn't quite as in-depth. But as you scroll down, what can be helpful is having access to information related to these various works that the author has written. And so let's select one of these. Okay, actually, this is just a citation because this is the index. All right. I may have confused you all with this, and for that I apologize. So because this is the index, a lot of this stuff from this database, I'm confusing this database with another database. So I apologize, but I'll show you the other database that I really meant to dive into from Gale. I'll show you that one in a few minutes, and it may be one that Mizzou does not have access to, but I know my local public library does. So I apologize for the confusion here. This one isn't the super good one that I was thinking about. This is, I think, just the index version of the one that I was thinking about. But let's go to, let's just put Raisin in the Sun here. And that's the name of the work. All right, yeah, so this is, now these indexes will show you where to go to find this information. So again, you could Interlibrary Loan this very quickly, but this is not the key database that I was going to show you all. This is really just the index. So Mizzou has the scaled down version of what we really want to look at, but I will show you what I'm really talking about when we get into the public library databases that I'm going to be showing you all. So I apologize for that, and we don't really even need to spend more time in that because it is just an index. You can go ahead and pause real quick if you need to take a break. All right, so yeah, after scrolling through and looking at the offerings from Mizzou, I think the last thing that I am going to show you is going to be this author biographies database from Literature Online, which again is available through ProQuest. This will be the last one that I show you, and then I'm going to take you into the public library resources, which honestly, I think even though the University of Missouri is the flagship institution of this state, I would say that the public library resources that I'm going to show you from my local public library, which I admit is a really good system, they tend to actually be better than what the college offers. But let's go ahead and look at this really quick just so you can get a feel for what is included in the author biographies from Literature Online, because this again is very useful when you are dealing with trying to help students out who are doing research on authors and those sorts of things. This might be something more so maybe for a freshman comp class or something for K-12, but it's not necessarily something that you would be using a lot for upper level students, for upperclassmen, for grad students, that sort of thing. But what you can do, as you can see here, and it defaults into an author tab here, you default into all, but you can kind of cut down by gender, by ethnicity, by nationality, and that sort of thing if you were trying to do a search. I'm just going to go ahead and browse. This is the browse feature here. It defaults into a browse, and you can actually, when we talk about authors, that's one of the great things about this database is when it's talking about authors, it's not just talking about your Langston Hugheses and your Mark Twains and all these people who are very, very well known and well established as authors within the literary tradition within England or the United States. What you will find here, as you can see with this first entry here, you will actually have some authors who are more contemporary, who are not necessarily regarded as authors within your typical English class, but they are authors if they actually produce art. So as you can see here, we have 50 Cent in this database, Curtis Jackson. And it treats him just like it does Mark Twain and Langston Hughes and all these other people that you would more readily think about. So again, this is useful when you are trying to help somebody do biographies and that sort of thing. And you see, I didn't know there even was criticism related to things that 50 Cent had written, but apparently there is. And you've got that there. And then also you have a relevant reference work, which is a biography again on Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent there. So that's all we need to look at from there, and I am going to go into the public library databases now. We'll probably spend another 30 minutes on these, so this is going to be about an hour-long video. Go ahead and take a break. If you need to take a break, this is a good time to take one. All right, so now we are going to change pace here, and we are going to look at some of the things offered not by Mizzou, and these things are offered by my local public library. I cannot guarantee if they will be offered by your local public library, but you can always contact your local public library and ask. And then also for those of you who work for academic libraries, but not specifically for Mizzou, there is a chance that your academic library does offer some of these things. So you may want to, your place of employment may offer these things. And so, yeah, just because one thing that I need to drive home is that different academic libraries have different resources and different public libraries have different resources. So just because I have to access something through my public library doesn't mean that your academic library in the future, if you work at an academic library, won't have it, okay? So I hope that makes sense. But what I want to do, so what I was going to show you all within Mizzou that didn't actually work out, I do have not just the index, but the actual database here for literature criticism from Gale. And so I can access this through my home library is Mid-Continent Public Library. Didn't mean to do that. Let's see here. All right. And it jumps me right in here. And so let's go back to the advanced search so that I can really show you all what I was talking about. Because this is the one that I was talking about. This is the guy that you want to have in your toolkit. Because this is when you are trying to help people find information about authors or information about works or criticism about works. This is probably the first place you should go. So again, this is Gale Literature Criticism. And let's see. First of all, as you can see, we have more options here. I think I only had name of work or author as my options previously, but now I've got more options. So let's say I'm going to actually focus this on name of work, but let's try again To Kill a Mockingbird. And let's search for that. All right, and as you can see, so this is good. This is what I was talking about. So sorry about the confusion earlier, but hopefully this rectifies that confusion there. So in everything, this automatically applies a filter of full text. So everything that I find here is going to be full text. But for To Kill a Mockingbird, as you can see, I've got 78 works of literary criticism. That's really, really good. I've got also topic and work overviews, and then reviews and news, and then biographies. So if we were to scroll down and look a little bit at the literary criticism here, again, it's defaulting into my literary criticism. I can see what year it was published, the criticism that is, not the actual work itself. I can see how long it is, in this case 3,500 words, essay, critical essay, so I can see what type of essay it is. And as I go down, I can see, this one's much longer. I can also see where, by the way, the criticism is found. This is found in Children's Literature Review, but this one is quite long. And then this one is quite short, but I've got my editors, I've got the readings on where they're from and that sort of thing. And then what I can do is, if I find one that I like let's say that I really think that I want to try this 11,000 word one because it's going to be long and I think I'm going to get a lot of information out of it. What I can do is I can just click that link and I will be brought right into that full text here. And it is, okay, there we go. It is going to take it possibly a little while to actually load and everything, get to this point where it's actually completely viewable. But what I can do is I can then, should be able to, flip my pages here. And there you go. I think I actually made it to the end of that. Oh, no, I didn't. So yeah, as you can see, this shaded area here, this is dealing with the shaded area is basically my full text for this, okay? And so again, we'll go back to the results, but you can select any of those. And then also, if you wanted to get into biography, you could come over here and do that. These are going to be biographies mostly on, I would have thought they would have been biographies mostly on Harper Lee, but we are actually running a little bit of a gambit here. So we've got some other people coming out. But if you were to click on this, you would see how it relates back or why it's relevant to the work here. And then, of course, we've got these topic and work overviews here. So this is an introduction to Kill a Mockingbird. We also have this pops up here, and this would be good for my intellectual freedom class. This is an introduction to censorship in children's literature. So it's not specifically on To Kill a Mockingbird, but To Kill a Mockingbird is a book that gets challenged and banned a lot. And then you have reviews and news there, and so these are generally, as they sound, typically news items and that sort of thing. All right, now let's go back to this page here, and then we will. So for one thing, I do want to say that it is also very good on this landing page. You can browse for popular topics, popular works, and then popular authors. So that can be very helpful there. So, and I'm just going to select one real quick. Let's select Margaret Atwood right now. Why not? So if you select your author, then you will be brought to this landing page here, or overview page, I mean, here. And what you will start off with, again, is a biography, and then you will have things that are related to Margaret Atwood or whoever the author is that you select. You will have criticisms here, featured criticism, then you can see all criticisms there. And that's pretty much all I'm going to get into from that overview page there. But then also, again, with popular works, you can have, sometimes you can even have like character overviews in your popular works, and that is really, really cool. So I'm going to select Frankenstein and see what I get out of this. Yeah, I don't see a character overview within this one, but that's okay. Let me go back, and now I am going to do another advanced search. And this time, instead of making the advanced search on the work, I am going to do an advanced search on the author. So person, by, or about, let's do Langston Hughes. And the good thing about that by or about option there is that It's not just going to be, it's not going to just have returns for stuff that is by Langston Hughes, but you can also, if you're looking again to write a report, for instance, on Langston Hughes, getting all of this great stuff about Langston Hughes, it's not necessarily written by him. So biographical maybe instead of autobiographical, that can still be very, very important. So we've got, again, all this literature criticism featuring or related to Langston Hughes. Then we've got biographies, topics, and overviews, works and overviews, and that sort of thing. Okay. And a lot of news there. So this one you really, really do want to have in your toolkit, and therefore I would say that if you are going to only review one of the things that we looked at today, this should probably be the one. All right. Now I am going to get out of that and we're going to look at just a few more of these. So I am again at Mid-Continent's homepage here, and well, not homepage, but this is their page for is it literature? It's something, I believe it's literature and language. But we can look at a few more of these, and there are a few more that I want to show you. Bloom's is another good one to kind of be aware of. So if you go into Bloom's here, this is probably a second one to just really have in your toolkit and be ready to use. But one of the things that I love about Bloom's, when I was talking about the character overviews and the possibility of having those within the Gale criticism database, this is where you can really get some information on actual characters. So this is a key strength of this database here, but it's also very, very, very good for researching authors and for researching works. So I don't want that to get lost in the mix. But for instance, most studied characters, and I was just talking about To Kill a Mockingbird, so Atticus Finch, you actually have character overviews in this database. So that can be very, very helpful. Okay. So, and this is something that can be downloaded. You can get the citations and that sort of thing. But yeah, so if we were to, so let's say let's hop into Maya Angelou here. So again, you have that great overview page here, and that includes, you got reference sources, you got criticism, literary works, and then you have images and videos. And again, usually the images and videos that come within Bloom's are things that you can actually use in a presentation, and as long as you cite them, you don't generally have to worry about like copyright and that sort of thing. You can use these in presentations for school. So again, this is a great one to play around with, as well as the Gale Literary Criticism Database. These are probably two of the ones that you're going to want to start out with right away. Oh, and then I've never even really used the curriculum tools, but this can be very helpful for those, if you're trying to show a student what plagiarism is, this is helpful for that. You've also got resources for writing papers, and then you've even got tools for the educators there. So this is very good. Make sure that Bloom's is in your toolkit as well, and I wish that was something that Mizzou would actually spring for. Contemporary authors is another Gale database, but its search is so similar to the criticism database that I'm not actually going to go in there. And the same thing of Dictionary of Literary Biography. If you, for when you were trying to find information on authors, these are two great resources to have. Okay, let's scroll down some more. I'm going to skip some of these. Something about the author is very important. But it's another Gale database, and it kind of searches the same way as what we were looking at earlier. We can go ahead and do one though. Let's do Maya Angelou again. So for something about the author in there, we only got 3 results here. And that's because I forgot to mention, I think that something about the author is more focused on, for children's authors. And so that's probably why Maya Angelou might not have been the greatest decision there. Maybe Judy Blume, is she in here? Okay, maybe. But in the interest of time, I am actually going to go ahead and X out of that. But as you can see, it searches very similar to the other Gale databases that we have been using, but its focus is specifically on children's authors. The Writers Reference Center, this is actually very, very useful for when you are actually trying to, we're jumping out of literature now, just so you know. But the again, this resource here, which again is the Writers Reference Center, this is actually very, very helpful for when you are having questions about the English language stuff. Now, a lot of people just rely on Google for this these days, but you should. The reason why I would recommend using something like this is because, again, you can't always trust what you find on Google. I feel a lot more comfortable with what I see here. So, and this even defaults into like top grammar errors, and so that's pretty cool. So, lose versus loose, wrong. Though the ball came loose on the final play, the team did not lose the game. And then the right way, even though the ball came loose on the final play, the team did not lose the game. All right, so this is very helpful if you need help with your grammar and punctuation and you're not quite sure, parts of speech, if you need some further enforcement with those sorts of things. This is where you want to come for that. Writing with style. You've got some things that can kind of help you out there. Reference shelf, this should have, it has your dictionary, your thesaurus, your regionalisms within America, British English, words and phrases and their origins. So this is a very, very important one that often gets overlooked. So even if you're dealing with like idioms, I've had several students actually come to me asking what the origins of various idioms are. This is where I would go first. So make sure again that this one, the Writer's Reference Center, is in your toolkit. There's just some amazing stuff in here. Anyone who's an English language nerd would probably go nuts if they actually went into this and saw all of the different resources that are available within it. All right, if you want to take a pause, we've got, I believe, 2 more things we're going to look at. Okay, so two more things that we're going to look at, and we're going to look at them real quick. So we are actually, this might be the first time ever that Dr. Jace is actually spending less time than he thought he was going to, because I sure enough thought that I was going to spend an hour on this, but it looks like we will be done in 50 minutes. And again, you can speed this up. So for biography, if you are looking for biographies, not necessarily author biographies, I'm just talking biographies, this is when you might want to look for the Gale in Context biography database. This one is great. Authors, musicians, scientists, artists, all sorts of stuff there. And then if we go in, what we can do is, so you can type in the name of a person and then you can get a lot of information about them, including other names. Snoop Dogg, of course, being a stage name, but you can get all of this other various information, including real names that he goes by. His real name is Calvin Broadus. You can get a biography there. And then again, you get all of this featured content divided into all of these various subject matters. So you have featured content. You've got biographies. We've got 12 biographies here, 20 images that you can use without violating rights. As long as you credit the source, you have magazine sources, news sources, websites, audio, those sorts of things. And then as you come in, these things are going to be in full text generally. Ooh, and you even have Lexile numbers. I didn't know I would have Lexile numbers for this. So Lexile numbers, for those of you who don't know, Lexiles actually help you determine what reading level the work is appropriate for. So various, like if you have a high Lexile number, then that means it's probably something that's more suited for your high school audience. And then like your low Lexile numbers, those can be more useful for elementary school and that sort of thing. But featured content, he was in the halftime show when the Rams played the Bengals, and so this covered that. And so you see you've got that full text there, and you can download it, cite it, all of that stuff. But this is great, and again, this is great in part because it's not just focused on the biographies of authors. This is the biographies of just celebrities and famous people and people who just recently died, as Angela Lansbury did. You can find information about them here. All right, so that is Gale biography. And then the last thing that I do want to show you, actually I was considering showing you the Children's Core Collection, but now I don't think I really need to do that, because even that is sort of outside the scope. If you want to learn more about it, you can definitely find a a tutorial somewhere, either within the database itself or on YouTube or whatever the case may be. But I think this is more so out of the scope and not something that I need to actually look at right now for this class. So we actually can wrap it up here. So I am finishing 15 minutes earlier than I thought I was going to, because it usually takes me an hour to get through this. But I moved a little faster this time by not going into too much depth. I'm going to put going into debt into your depth, not debt, going into depth in your hands. So you do that if you want to do that, but I am going to leave it here. I am Dr. Jace, and yes, I don't think the library will ever be replaced, even if other people will tell you that and tell you that you're making a bad decision going into this field. Don't listen to them. They haven't looked at the Occupational Outlook Handbook, which we will talk about next week or in the next check-in video. So having said that, let's give it a rest at 45 minutes. I am Dr. Jason. Peace out.